For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the afternoon of March 15, 2013, 26-year-old backpackers Tessa Acaffer and Dylan Hart ventured onto the treacherous Na Pali coast-back ridges of Kauai, expecting an epic day hike. They never returned. Despite an extensive investigation led by SAR pilot Keone Hale and countless volunteer efforts, Tessa and Dylan vanished without a trace into the island's unforgiving jungle. For 9 agonizing years, their families lived with gnawing uncertainty, grappling with a profound void. Then, in early 2022, a discovery was made. Remote drone footage captured an unsettling glint deep within the dense ulu ferns, hinting at an elusive truth. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Tessa Acaffer and Dylan Hart, and the chilling secrets held by Kauai's ancient trails. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Tessa Acaffer and Dylan Hart, both 26, embodied the spirit of modern adventure. Their lives were a testament to exploration, their social media a vibrant chronicle of mountains climbed and oceans crossed. Tessa, an environmental scientist, possessed a keen eye for nature, while Dylan, a freelance photographer, sought to capture its raw majesty. In the spring of 2013, their wanderlust led them to Kauai, the Garden Isle, renowned for its unparalleled beauty and formidable wilderness. Their destination was the Na Pali coast, a stretch of verdant cliffs plunging into the Pacific, accessible only by sea, air, or arduous trail. Specifically, they aimed for the back ridges near Kalalau, an area where lush jungle met precipitous drops and ancient volcanic formations. It was a landscape of breathtaking splendor, yet equally unforgiving, its dense vegetation and treacherous topography concealing countless dangers. The couple, experienced backpackers, planned a challenging day hike, intending to return by nightfall. However, the remote wilderness proved too strong an allure. What began as a day hike subtly transformed into an extended venture. They made the fateful decision to establish an unpermitted camp deep within the Na Pali's secluded interior, far from marked trails and immediate assistance. This deviation, though common among adventurous spirits, placed them in a precarious position, dependent solely on their own resources in an environment demanding absolute respect. The tropical paradise soon revealed its darker side. Without warning, a severe and localized storm front descended upon the Na Pali coast. Monsoon-like rains lashed the jungle, turning dry streambeds into raging torrents and making the already slick, narrow ridgelines impassable. The deluge was relentless. Paths they had traversed hours earlier were now obliterated by landslides and flash floods. The storm's ferocity severed more than just their physical route of escape. It cut off all communication. Cell service, already intermittent in the Na Pali's remote reaches, vanished entirely. Tessa and Dylan, isolated and exposed, were plunged into a profound silence, a stark contrast to the roaring winds and pounding rain. They were alone, deep within a wilderness rapidly transforming into a hostile maze. When the couple failed to check in with their prearranged contact, an uneasy silence began to permeate. Their absence, initially minor concern, quickly escalated into alarm. As dawn broke on the second day without contact, the chilling realization solidified. Tessa Acaffer and Dylan Hart had vanished, swallowed by the vast, inscrutable expanse of the Na Pali wilderness. Their disappearance would ignite a search that yielded nothing, leaving only questions in its wake. The alarm that followed Tessa and Dylan's failure to return quickly triggered a massive search and rescue operation. Within hours of the missing persons report, local authorities, bolstered by state and federal resources, mobilized a comprehensive effort. Helicopters, boats, and dozens of trained personnel converged on the Na Pali coast, a region notorious for its ability to swallow unprepared adventurers. The initial phase of the investigation was a race against time, fueled by the slim hope that the couple might be injured but alive, awaiting discovery. However, the Na Pali coast presented an formidable adversary. The very storm that had isolated Tessa and Dylan now compounded the search team's difficulties. Landslides had reshaped familiar pathways, the NSC Ulu fern-choked ravines, and swollen rivers roared through the valleys. Visibility from the air was often poor, obscured by lingering cloud cover and the thick, triple-canopy jungle that absorbed radio signals and swallowed light. Ground teams, navigating treacherous, unmapped terrain, found themselves battling not only the elements but also the sheer, unforgiving scale of the wilderness. Among the most experienced responders was SAR pilot Keone Hale, whose decades of flying the Na Pali had etched every ridge and valley into his memory. Hale's helicopter became a crucial eye in the sky, systematically traversing grid patterns, often battling updrafts and downdrafts as he meticulously scanned the bewildering green expanse below. His crews rappelled into inaccessible gorges, enduring the heat and humidity, meticulously searching for any sign. A dropped backpack, a discarded water bottle, a footprint in the mud. Despite their unparalleled local knowledge and relentless dedication, the vastness of the search area, coupled with the terrain's hostility, proved overwhelming. Days bled into weeks. The initial intensity of the search, driven by urgency and a glimmer of hope, began to wane as the leads remained non-existent. No distressed calls were ever recorded, no campsites discovered, no personal effects found. The jungle yielded no clues, no trace of Tessa Ackeffer or Dylan Hart. The exhaustive efforts, involving hundreds of personnel and countless hours, produced nothing but an increasing sense of futility. With each passing day, the probability of a positive outcome diminished, and the growing despair among the search teams mirrored the anguish of the families. Eventually, with no new information and resources stretched thin, the active search operations were reluctantly scaled back, leaving a profound void and an unanswered question hanging over the Na Pali coast. 9 years passed. The initial flurry of search activity, the hopeful but ultimately fruitless efforts, gradually receded into the collective memory of Kauai. What was once an urgent, high-profile missing persons case slowly, agonizingly, transformed into a chilling cold case. The jungle, which had so effectively swallowed Tessa Ackeffer and Dylan Hart, maintained its profound silence, revealing nothing of their fate. For their families, these 9 years were an eternity of agonizing uncertainty, a perpetual state of limbo where grief could never find its full expression, nor acceptance its footing. Every passing season, every holiday, brought renewed pain, a fresh reminder of the void left by their vanished loved ones and the enduring mystery surrounding their last moments. The island community, initially united in their concern and efforts, gradually resigned itself to the unsettling enigma. The Na Pali coast, famed for its pristine beauty, now held a darker, more somber reputation, a place where the wild could claim lives without leaving a trace. Investigators, too, felt the lingering shadow of the unresolved disappearance. Despite periodic reviews of the case files, re-interviewing initial contacts, and re-examining the sparse data collected, no new leads ever emerged. The official file, thick with reports of exhaustive but inconclusive searches, remained stubbornly dormant, a stark testament to the seemingly insurmountable barriers presented by the terrain and the initial lack of any definitive evidence. During this protracted period, the capabilities of investigative technology remained largely static in relation to the unique challenges presented by the Na Pali. Satellite imagery, while improving globally, still struggled to penetrate the triple canopy jungle that blanketed the ridges and valleys with an almost impenetrable green. Ground-penetrating radar was impractical in such rugged, inaccessible environments, and thermal imaging, in its nascent stages for such applications, lacked the resolution to discern anomalies beneath dense vegetation from hundreds of feet above. Without a specific area of interest or a tangible clue to narrow the search, the vastness of the wilderness rendered even the most advanced tools of the era ineffective. Resources, already strained by the initial extensive search, were not available for speculative expeditions into areas that had yielded nothing for nearly a decade. The case of Tessa Akefer and Dylan Hart became a haunting testament to the Na Pali Coast's capacity to guard its secrets, a stark reminder that some mysteries, it seemed, were destined to remain unsolved. The passage of 9 years had solidified the case of Tessa Akefer and Dylan Hart into a cold file, yet technological advancements were quietly reshaping the landscape of forensic investigation. What was once considered insurmountable terrain or impenetrable canopy began to yield to new observational tools. Drone technology, once a nascent and expensive novelty, had evolved into a sophisticated, cost-effective instrument capable of surveying vast, challenging environments with unprecedented detail. This new era of remote sensing offered a fresh perspective on old mysteries, providing a glimmer of hope for cases long since abandoned. In the autumn of 2022, as part of a broader initiative to map ecological changes along the Na Pali coast, a high-resolution drone was deployed over sections of the remote back ridges near Kalalau. The objective was environmental, but the data collected held unforeseen potential for human investigation. Weeks later, an analyst meticulously reviewing the extensive drone footage, frame by painstaking frame, noticed an anomaly. Amidst the undulating green textures of the jungle, a fleeting, artificial shimmer caught their attention. It was a brief, almost imperceptible reflection, out of place against the natural backdrop. Zooming in, the anomaly resolved into a tiny, metallic gleam. It appeared to be a reflective strip, precisely the kind often found on backpack straps or outdoor gear. Critically, it was not on an open path or an easily accessible ridge. Instead, it was partially obscured, almost hidden, beneath the dense, shaggy fronds of ulu ferns, a common and notoriously thick ground cover that rendered areas beneath it virtually invisible from ground level. The coordinates indicated a location deep within a ravine, an area so remote and treacherous that ground searches 9 years prior would have struggled immensely to penetrate it, even if they had reason to look there. This single, faint glimmer represented the first tangible lead in nearly a decade. It was a minute detail, easily missed, yet its presence was undeniable. The discovery immediately shifted the entire momentum of the dormant investigation. The reflective strip, a silent sentinel beneath the ferns, offered a concrete starting point, a pinpoint in the vast expanse of the Na Pali, suggesting that the jungle had not, after all, swallowed Tessa and Dylan without a trace. The cold case, once frozen in time, was suddenly reanimated, infused with a renewed sense of purpose and the promise that the Na Pali secrets might finally be revealed. The discovery of the reflective strip, a faint but undeniable beacon in the drone footage, instantly reanimated the cold case of Tessa Akefer and Dylan Hart. After 9 years of dormancy, the file was pulled from storage, its contents now viewed through the prism of renewed hope and advanced technological capability. This was no longer a speculative endeavor. There was a precise location, however remote, that demanded immediate and thorough investigation. The initial task involved bringing together specialized expertise to interpret the new data and plan the next, critical phase of the search. Botanist Mil Chang was among the first called upon. Her extensive knowledge of Kauai's unique flora, particularly the aggressive growth habits of ulu ferns, proved invaluable. Chang could analyze the drone imagery to understand how the dense fern canopy might have shifted or thickened over 9 years, potentially obscuring larger objects or indicating microclimates that favored specific types of vegetation. Her insights could help predict where other clues might lie hidden beneath the relentless green, or how water flow and erosion patterns, influenced by vegetation, might have affected the area. Alongside Chang, trail runner Kai DeVere offered a crucial perspective. DeVere possessed an intimate, almost intuitive understanding of the Na Poli's treacherous trails and unmapped ridgelines. His decades spent navigating its unforgiving terrain provided a unique ability to interpret the land's challenges from the drone's overhead view. He could identify potential paths, assess the extreme difficulty of past ground searches in that specific ravine, and advise on the most feasible, albeit still perilous, routes for future ground teams. His insights were critical in understanding how a lost couple might have moved through such an environment and where they might have sought shelter or attempted to signal. With this combined expertise, a new generation of advanced drones was deployed. These machines, equipped with higher resolution cameras and enhanced stability, were no longer merely surveying. They were engaged in targeted reconnaissance. Their mission was to meticulously map the area around the reflective strip, searching for any further anomalies, any break in the natural pattern that might suggest human presence. The search perimeter expanded incrementally, guided by the botanist's understanding of the ecosystem and the trail runner's knowledge of movement through such a landscape. The data collected was then meticulously cross-referenced, frame by frame, preparing for the inevitable, incredibly difficult ground expeditions into a ravine that had held its secrets for nearly a decade. The meticulous drone surveys and expert analysis had narrowed the vast wilderness to a specific, challenging ravine. However, the impenetrable canopy and dense ground cover still shielded the exact truth. To pierce this final veil, investigators turned to the next frontier in remote sensing: advanced thermal imaging. This technology, capable of detecting minute temperature differences, offered the promise of revealing what visible light could not. Specialized thermal cameras were mounted on drones, specifically calibrated to penetrate the humid jungle air and identify subtle heat signatures emanating from below the vegetation. Deployed over the suspected area, the thermal imaging equipment began to map the terrain in a new, uncolored spectrum. Amidst the expected thermal variations of rock, soil, and vegetation, a distinctive and highly unusual pattern emerged. It was a repeating series of elongated heat shadows, starkly contrasting with the diffuse and organic thermal signatures of the surrounding environment. These anomalies were not random. They formed a coherent, almost structural arrangement beneath the surface, suggesting a geological feature rather than a natural, organic process. Botanist Meal Chang, reviewing the thermal data alongside geological experts, identified the pattern as consistent with collapsed lava tubes. Kauai, a volcanic island, was riddled with such formations. These ancient tubes, many partially collapsed, acted like natural chimneys, creating unique thermal gradients as air currents flowed through them, drawing heat from the Earth's core or trapping it from solar radiation. The repeating heat shadow pattern precisely mapped the subterranean network of these tubes, and critically, pinpointed a specific location where one such tube had collapsed, creating a direct drop-in sight from the surface. This was the breakthrough. The thermal imaging had not merely found an anomaly, it had revealed a hidden geological structure directly beneath where the reflective strip was glimpsed. A ground team, guided by the precise thermal map, was then able to navigate the treacherous ravine to this pinpointed location. Descending into the collapsed tube, they made the definitive discovery. Strewn across the floor, amidst the debris, were personal effects belonging to Tessa Ackhafer and Dylan Hart. Their backpacks, water bottles, and other gear lay scattered, but the most chilling detail was the arrangement of some of these items. They were not haphazardly discarded. Instead, a few key pieces were deliberately positioned, creating a crude but unmistakable series of direction markers, a final, desperate message etched into the unforgiving landscape. The ground team, guided by the precise thermal map and the glimpse of the reflective strip, finally descended into the collapsed lava tube. The air within was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, a stark contrast to the vibrant jungle above. There, amidst the geological debris and the scattered personal effects, the remains of Tessa Ackeffer and Dylan Hart were found. 9 years of agonizing uncertainty dissolved into a somber, irrefutable truth. Their backpacks lay open, water bottles empty, and other gear strewn as if dropped in haste. But it was the deliberate arrangement of some items that spoke volumes. A brightly colored bandana tied to a broken branch, pointing outward. A small, flat stone placed atop another, forming a rudimentary cairn. A flashlight, its battery long dead, positioned to reflect any potential light source entering the tube. These were not random objects. They were a final, desperate attempt to signal, to leave a message in the unforgiving wild. The scene reconstructed a harrowing final chapter. Trapped by the sudden storm and the resulting landslides, the couple likely sought shelter in the only available refuge they could find, the entrance to the lava tube. As the storm raged, the precarious ceiling of the tube gave way, sealing them inside. With no light, no communication, and dwindling resources, they faced an insurmountable challenge. Their final act, the arrangement of direction markers, was a poignant testament to their resilience and their enduring hope, even in the face of inevitable despair. It was a silent plea, a final whisper to anyone who might eventually find them. For the Ackeffer and Hart families, the discovery brought a complex wave of emotions. The protracted agony of not knowing had finally ended, replaced by the profound sorrow of confirmation. Closure, long deferred, arrived with a bittersweet finality, allowing grief to at last find its true expression. Their loved ones had not simply vanished. They had endured a struggle, and in their last moments, they had attempted to communicate. The Na Pali coast, with its ethereal beauty, once again asserted its raw, untamed power. It was a stark reminder that even the most experienced adventurers could be humbled by its unpredictable might. Yet this resolution would not have been possible without the silent revolution in investigative technology. Drones, with their tireless aerial surveillance, had located the initial anomaly, and thermal imaging had then precisely mapped the hidden geological feature, guiding human searchers to a truth buried for nearly a decade. This case underscored the transformative potential of such tools, offering hope for other cold cases in the world's most remote and challenging environments. It served as a critical lesson in respecting nature's ultimate dominion and the enduring human spirit that, even in extremis, strives to leave a trace.